Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you for being here. For some of you, this is truly a sacrifice. I would imagine that as you drove up and as you thought about being here before, you kept wondering, can I do this again? And the answer is yes. And we appreciate you being here. We appreciate you remembering. For some of you, it might be easier to forget, but we'll never forget. We'll never let these memories die. Our community is dedicated to walking with you as you go through this. So we appreciate you being here. For those of you that are not familiar with the Silent Angel Memorial, I am not going to take the time to read a lot of information. But what I encourage you to do on the back of your program is a website. And I encourage you to go there because it has a lot of really great information about the beginning of this program, some photographs, some reminders of years past. It reminds us of why we are here. If this is the first time you've been here, we hope that it will not be the last. But that brings us back to the question, why are we here? And I want to take just a few minutes to talk about why we are here. And very in the beginning, the most overriding reason we are here is to grieve. Some of us lost a friend or a family member, and that's why we're here. Some of us grieve the loss of innocence and civility in our community, and that's why we're here. Each one of us here has our own story, but we come together to share our sadness and our loss, and that's why we are here. We will never lose the memory of what brings us here, but by coming together, we can find a catharsis that, at least for the next hour or so, will bring us hope, will bring us peace, and will bring us comfort. We're here to grieve. Secondly, we are here to take a stand. As I thought about what I wanted to say, the easy part was to talk about the sadness. The easy part was to talk about the grief. But for right now, I want to talk about the difficult part, and that is we as a community have to take a stand against violence. To do that, I want to encourage us to do three things. First of all, we need to plead for self-control. We need to make sure that our community is not satisfied with people going out and doing what they choose to do. When we come together, we're reminded that the reason that we are here is often because people have their own agenda and they put it ahead of others. That's not who we are. As a community, we're better than that. So every year we come together, and when we come together, we make a statement to this community that we have to practice self-control, that we have to curb our emotions, that we have to find a way to make sure that we settle our differences civilly. We plead for self-control. Secondly, we solicit intervention. Violence is not born in a vacuum. Violence doesn't just occur. Somebody wakes up one morning and decides, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do something. For the most part, violence can be recognized. In many cases, someone may have had the opportunity to intervene on those tragic days. Maybe it was through a mental health intervention. Maybe it was making the difficult call to let someone know that their life was in danger. Folks, a peaceful community is possible because that is when their citizens see something and say something. This is our community's challenge. Let's be invested in prevention so that we no longer have to grieve with anyone else in our community. We will never be able to go back in time and intervene. But as you tell your story, and as you encourage the people whose lives you will touch, our encouragement to you is solicit the intervention that can derail the violence in the future. We come because we are here to demand justice. Human life is the ultimate gift that we are given. Human life is the ultimate right that we have. No one deserves to have this right and this gift taken from them without a community responding. These victims can no longer speak for themselves. So we pick up their voice and we remind the community, the nation, and our judicial system that their deaths will not be in vain. We stand up and we ask the community, we ask the government, we ask our law enforcement, we ask our prosecutors, and we ask our fellow people to demand that these lives continue to speak. When I was asked to do this, I had something that I really wanted to say. And I'm going to get a little personal here. Each one of us has been impacted by violence and death. But I want to express my appreciation to the men and women of law enforcement who are here. They go where they are needed. And oftentimes where they are needed is in the midst of the greatest crisis on earth, a homicide scene. In a homicide scene on TV, it lasts 48 minutes. But in our lives, in the lives of our law enforcement officers, it can last a lifetime. It's a misnomer that since they put on a badge and they are paid to serve and protect, they're immune from the horrors that they see. But they're not. They are human and they are humane. They care. They'll do their job. They'll do their job professionally. They'll go out and they'll find answers to very difficult questions. But at some point, they go home. If you've watched a lot of the reality cop shows, take them with a grain of salt. Especially when that crusty old sergeant is saying, when I get off of my shift, I take this uniform off and I don't think about the job until I put the uniform back on. I've known a lot of law enforcement officers and I know very few that are able to do that. When they go home, they live with their emotions. They live with the images. They live with the questions. And they live with the scars. For the most part, the victims that they deal with are not their friends or their family, but they become part of their lives, part of their souls. And I think it's interesting that it's not just once, it's not just twice, it's over and over and over again for 20, 25, 30 years. They don't carry every case with them that they solve or that they work. But we all have a few. As a law enforcement chaplain and as a peace officer for about 30 years now, I've got my own locked away in my mind. One of them happened on November 24th, 2021. I was called out with Captain Sean Moses as he broke the death notification to the family. I stood by as my officers unearthed Martina Patterson and Lanisha Greenwell. They unearthed them from a shallow grave somewhere in between an apartment complex and an elementary school. That's why I'm here. I am here because these two neighbors will never be forgotten as long as I live in this community. But also I am here because these deputies, these investigators, these technicians, they're not going to be alone. They're not going to have to endure these moments and these images and these struggles by themselves. I'll be there with them. And I'll be here with them. A minute ago, when I offered the invocation, I finished with a prayer that I pray with all my heart, that we will not add another name to this list. I wish and I pray and I hope that that is the case. But as long as we deal with this, as long as we add names to the list, and as long as we read those names from this list, this is our community's outreach. Our prayer, they'll never be forgotten. Our goal is to stand together. So what do? We keep coming back every year. Year after year, by remembering the crimes that impacted us throughout the years and recommitting to a civility that we hope and pray characterizes our community in the future. Violence is not the answer. Violence is never acceptable. I want to finish with a quote that is on a building in Oklahoma City. It is at the Oklahoma City National Memorial and Museum. And here is our challenge for today. We come here to remember those who were killed, those who survived, those who changed forever. May we all leave here with the impact of violence. May this memorial offer comfort, strength, peace, hope, and serenity.